subscription coming up in the future. But listen, before we start, I do want to get started because we do have a short window. So folks, I want to, first of all, thank you for coming on to our presentation today. Today we have Jennifer Ferriss, who's going to be doing a presentation on 2022 goal setting. But before we get there, I'd like to just talk about two announcements. Of course, three announcements. Today, of course, is the last in the series for Business Builder. Tomorrow we have Catherine Davies, right, for Tech Talk tomorrow morning at 9:30. So definitely members, come on, jump onto our call. Non-members, members and guests. The rest of the folks can watch it on Facebook Live. Now, Friday morning, Emerald Coffee Company, that's from 10 o'clock until 11:30. That is a business networking event. We've been doing that now during our 12 days of celebration. Tomorrow is the last one. Then on Sunday, we have our open house here at the 101 Hunter Street. So make sure you bring your fully vaccinated, pass to get you in. You show it to the doorman and he goes, enter, right? So that's on Sunday. And then, of course, Monday is our very last morning coffee with me, Ivan Sutton. It's going to be amazing. And it's the very last one. Jackie Stewart is also going to be co-hosting with me. So, definitely join us for that one. All right. So without any further ado, what does that actually mean anyway? Anyway, I don't want to answer, but without any further ado, we're going to go to Jennifer. Thank you.
Well, thank you guys and Ivan for inviting me to speak. I'm thrilled to be a member of this great city. It's been really, really good for me getting back into the swing of things and getting active in networking. And it's been such a blessing for me. I'm so glad I stumbled upon you guys on Meetup. So it means a lot to me that you asked, and we're excited for me to present this morning. A lot of what I do is around goal setting, but I want to talk about like this fun little fact. I did a quick little Google search and I was kind of surprised. But according to the quick little Google search that I did, only 8% of small business owners actually achieve their yearly goals. Only 8%. I was kind of like appalled because I thought surely it had to be a little bit better than that. Like it's got to be at least like 20 or something like that. But no, it was 8%. And I'm like, that's not good. That is not good. That's not okay. So I have some questions for you, and I want you to raise your hand or, whatever to let me know your thoughts on this. But how many of you set goals at the beginning of the year and 12 months later, you haven't achieved all of them? Like you set multiple goals, the end of the year, maybe one or two is checked off, but not all of them. Raise your hand if that's you. That's most of us, been there, done that. You look at that list of goals, the things you want to achieve at the beginning of the year, maybe once or twice in February, maybe once in March. And then by November or December, you're like, oh crap. Yeah, I was supposed to do some things. I had these things on my list and I completely forgot all about them. Cue the entrepreneur guilt, right? Like, because then oh man, like what have I done? I missed this opportunity. How many of you now don't even bother setting goals anymore because you're like, I failed last year. Or I failed the year before. Maybe one goal. No? Okay, so we're doing good there. So today I want to talk about why most entrepreneurs don't hit their goals and how you can start to consistently take the right actions in and on your business so that you can achieve the goals that you set in a way that actually feels good. Because if it doesn't feel good, we're not going to continue to take action, right? So this is the essence of what I've been doing and teaching my clients for the last 3+ years. It's exactly what I do and how I support my clients. And it gives them the confidence to know that they can consistently take the right actions based on their core focus and the goals we reverse engineer, which I'm a big believer in, so they can achieve all of the goals that they've set and take their business to new heights, which is kind of what we all want, right? So today, we're going to be talking about setting the right goals specifically for 2020, but this will also help you just period, any goal you want to set. We're going to talk about 3 things. What is the right goal? Taking action on the goal to turn it into a plan. And then, turning the goal into an action plan is the second thing. And then taking action in a way that sets you up to achieve your goal is the third thing. So let me ask you this. How many of you make a goal, but you don't know exactly how to achieve it. Like, it sounds like a really good idea and you know it would move the needle in your business, but it just kind of sits there on a piece of paper or your pin board. You have goals, but you're not quite sure how to get from point A to point Z. Yes? Okay. What about if you're struggling to achieve your goals because you pick a good goal and you kind of know what you want to do, but then you start splitting your focus because there's this other goal. Ooh, this goal. I want to do this thing. Over here, I'm going to do this thing. Raise it. Yep. Is that anyone else here? Shiny object syndrome. It's a real thing. And yes, for sure. What about when it just feels like you're just not meeting your goal? Like, it's there, you have a plan, you want to do it, and then it doesn't feel good anymore. So you start being distracted by low ticket offers or one size fits all type solutions or $27 Facebook marketing courses or how to write ads or Instagram copy. I'm totally guilty of that one, by the way. You spend the money and then you don't ever take action on it. And once again, you didn't follow through and you get that feeling. Chances are you're probably feeling frustrated and stuck because you don't know what you're doing wrong. But what you do know is that achieving the right goal for 2022 will massively impact your business. So the logic becomes, if I just set more goals and I hustle all the time and I do all the things, then I'm going to grow my business, make more money, have more clients, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. So all the goals, just make more goals. This goal isn't working. Let's just make a new goal. We'll just change the focus. I've had years where I've definitely 100% about that logic. But what I've learned and what's got me past six figures is that I had to set the right goals and take the time to actually turn them into an action plan. So what we're going to be talking about today is what's actually most important for you to know so that you can begin to take action on the goals that will actually move the needle in your business. But before I go too much deeper in this, I want to tell you a little bit about me. I've been in business as a digital entrepreneur for 12 plus years. I started as a blogger before bloggers were making money. That turned into an influencer in the craft and DIY space. And then to make even more money, I started working as a VA or virtual assistant for other bloggers, got a bunch of referrals, and I leveraged the systems that I created into an agency. The agency still exists today. It's something I run part-time. I support my associates and as they support our clients. And I love it. But what it did is it got me to this point where I was just thinking, someday I will, where someday I'm going to win the lottery, or someday I'm going to have my dream home. Someday I'm going to have someone come into my house and cook for me because I hate cooking all of the time, but I want to eat healthier. Or someday I'm going to have a personal assistant. Or someday I'm going to have my dream car. And one day I was talking to a friend and we were having this conversation about someday. And I almost had like this out of body experience where all of a sudden I heard myself saying, someday this and someday that, and someday I'm going to have someone come in and clean my house, and someday I'm going to retire my ex-husband now. But, like all of these things, someday. And I just went, stop. Okay, wait. Why does it have to be someday? Why can't I figure out a way to make this happen next week or next month? Like, what do I have to do to get to this point? Because I'm really tired of saying someday. And so I did. I picked the goal. I figured out what was necessary to make it happen. And I started taking focused action. I hired a house cleaner within a month and I retired my now ex-husband 10 months later, sorry. So in less than a year, I hit some really big milestones because I figured out that taking the right action on the right goal is far more influential than taking a lot of action on all of the goals and not moving the needle on anything. So now I help entrepreneurs who are tired of those cookie cutter strategies know exactly what actions to take so they can achieve their goals, grow their business, make more money, and feel good about it. Because that's what we want, right? So I get asked a lot, how come you're so good at seeing the bigger picture of business and setting the right goals and focus? And a big part of why I'm able to do this now is because I invested a lot of money, a lot of time, and a lot of energy into programs and one-size-fits-all solutions that left me feeling confused and feeling icky and stuck in exactly the right place. those programs, those opportunities that I utilized, those coaching things that I took advantage of, taught me that I needed a personalized action plan that felt good to me. Because if it didn't feel good to me, but sounded good on paper or just checked a bunch of boxes, I wasn't actually going to do the actions that were necessary. And feeling good about what I was doing to grow my business is far more important to me on a daily basis than moving through anyone else's 10 steps to success or, group program or group coaching thing. When I pivoted away from influencer marketing and content creation into coaching about aligned business strategies, I was able to build that side of my business to over 60K in the first year. And now I teach my clients to take action on their aligned goals because it's actually easier than all of these external solutions that we think are going to solve the problem, and it works. So let's talk a little bit about what's likely been going on. When you look at the big picture, you've got a pretty good idea of what you want. So you're taking action. You have a goal, you think you're working towards the goal, but you still feel stuck, a little unfocused. You're not really sure if it's the right goal. And I hear that a lot. What I want to talk about here is helping you understand that deciding what actions to take based on what matters most to you is crucial both to achieving your goal and making it possible for when you take action to actually feel good. So you're taking action and moving the needle in your business in a way that feels good and is helping you achieve your goal. And when you're taking the action on what matters most to you and on the goal that you've decided is the right one, that's when you start hitting your goals. It's possible. You can actually hit your goals, grow your business, and feel really, really good about it. So I want to tell you a little story about one of my clients, Tiffany. Tiffany came to me because she knew she wanted to launch a podcast and a magazine around the new brand that she was developing, but she didn't really know where to start. She was kind of lost in the weeds of this new avenue of her business. So we backed it up. We started at the very beginning. We talked about what she wanted this new brand to achieve, how she wanted it to impact her ideal clients, and what mattered most to her in relation to this new branch or avenue of her business. And when we pulled back the kind of the curtains and dove back to the beginning and the foundation of things, what we discovered was this new idea for a brand she had wasn't actually a new brand at all. It was an additional layer to her marketing funnel that really clearly aligned with the core values of her coaching practice and her personal brands. And it fit at the top layer as a way to funnel people into that avenue. So with that aha moment, like she literally said, aha, I get it. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I missed this. We were able to formulate her first core focus goal and then reverse engineer the actions she needed to take, map it out into a timeline that felt good for her. And now she's actively taking action and has like 10 episodes of her podcast out already. And she's super thrilled and excited to be like on point and on target and knowing exactly that what she's doing is moving the needle in her business, but she feels really good about it. She's not stressed out about adding a podcast to everything else that she's doing. So we're going to actually dive into picking the right goals. And I hope you have some pens and paper and maybe a couple of highlighters because we're actually going to talk about picking the right goal. So what is the right goal? How do you figure out what the right goal is? When it comes to picking the right goal to focus on, we want to make sure it lines up with a couple of things. It needs to match our core values. And I spend a lot of time with my clients focusing on core values as the foundation of everything they do. Because if what you're working towards doesn't actually meet the needs and desires that you hold closest to you, what's the point? Like if it doesn't actually help you build the life that you've dreamed of, why are we doing this? It would be way easier to just go get a 9-to-5. So this core foundation creates a number of resources and tools you can use inside of your business. But one of my favorite ways to use them is as a filter for picking the right goals for our business. You can dream up as many goals as you want. There is an unlimited pool of ideas and things that would actually be good for your business. But if a goal doesn't align with your core values and the life you want to live, and therefore the business you want, it needs to get crossed off the list. So right now, really quickly, I want you to jot down a list of possible goals that you think might be a good fit for 2022. I'm just going to stop talking for a minute and let you write those down. You can wave at me or drop something in the comments when you've gotten, 5 or 6 maybe potential goals for 2022. Okay. All right. So we've got a few goals that sound good. They could be really great goals. The next thing we want to think about is, what is the vision we have for the life we want and the business we want? So this next filter is, does this goal match or serve the vision I have for the life and business that I want to be living in 2022? So a great goal is not only going to align with your core values, but it will also push you towards the lifestyle you've envisioned for yourself, as well as the business that makes that lifestyle possible. A lot of times I see business owners and entrepreneurs sacrificing the life that they want, the life that they say they want, for this cliched idea of what business success is. They think, in my world as a coach and online digital entrepreneur, a lot of people think like success is sitting in a bikini on a beach with their laptop working 5 hours a week, right? Like that's the best life cliche. Or, for others, it could be, they've got 47 employees or 100 employees and they're driving their dream car, or they've climbed the corporate ladder, whatever it is. There's these cliches around business success. And when we take the time to actually deciding what success means for us, what it looks like and what it feels like, then we're able to use that as a filter for picking the right goals. Because if it's not going to let us feel like we're being successful on a daily basis, then it's not actually going to serve what we're doing for the long term. And we're not honoring all of the parts of who we are. So you not only get to decide what success looks like and feels like for you, you actually get to decide to serve both your humanness, right? We are humans first, and business owners and entrepreneurs second, but you serve your humanity and then also your drive as a business owner. Because when we are serving and filling ourselves up as people, as humans, it's that element of self-care. But when it's serving a goal that fills us up for who we are, but then also serves our business, it's the right goal. So I want you to look at that list of possible goals you wrote, and I want you to just quickly cross off anything that doesn't match your core values. So if it doesn't match your core values or serve your core values, I want you to just cross it right off the list. It's going to get scratched off the list entirely. And then I want you to look at that list, and I want you to think about, does this goal help me achieve the life that I want first, and then the business that I want second? And if it doesn't match those things, cross it off the list. Okay. So the third filter that we run our goals through is, how do I want to be spending my actual time? If achieving a potential goal means that you're going to have to sacrifice all of your nights and weekends, but family time is part of one of your core values, then that goal's not the right one. If, being with your family and making memories is really important to you, but this goal means that you're going to have to work every night and every weekend for the next 6 months, it's not the right goal, because it's compromising and asking you to sacrifice one of your core values. Now, we can do that for a short season to achieve something, but it's not how we set the right goals. And while, achieving this potential goal might be like, if I'm going to have to work every night and weekend, then no. But when we don't factor the time and potential work process or workflow of a goal in the planning phase, it trips us up when it comes time to execute it, because we didn't factor in the fact that, I set this goal and I put a 6-month timeline on it, but now if I'm going to achieve this goal, I have to work every weekend. We didn't plan for that. So we want to do that before we even start working on the goal. All right. So if you look at your list and cross off anything that requires you to sacrifice time that needs to be designated to other things, how many goals do you have left? Catherine, how many goals do you have left? 2? Okay. So 3. I want you, 3. Okay. I want you to pick one of those goals, because they're probably really good, a really aligned goal for you. Pick one of them, and everyone else can also pick a goal as well. And we're actually going to break it down and turn it into a core focused plan. core focused action plan, which is what I call my goal setting. All right. So the first question to ask yourself, does this goal need an end date? If it does, put that next to the goal. All right. If it needs an end date, what is the completion date? When does it need to be done by? Is it a goal that you can wrap up at the end of 2022? Is it a goal that you want to have achieved by the end of the third quarter? Is it a goal you want done at the end of January? What is the date that you want this goal to be completed by? So then this next step takes a little bit longer. And I'm going to probably give you 5 minutes to 5 to 7 minutes to look over this, because I think we have some time for that. But unless Ivan tell me if I'm wrong. How do you get from where you are today to having completed the goal? What are the steps you need to take? I want you to write as many of them down in as much detail as possible on one goal, because there's no way we can get more than one goal done. So I'm going to mute myself, drink some water, but I want you to look at this goal and say, what exactly are all of the steps that need to be done to achieve this goal? And I want you to write them down in as much detail as possible.
Jennifer, sorry, can you repeat we need to kind of break it down?
Yeah. So we've picked a goal that we're going to work on right now. We're giving it an end date. And if it needs an end date, when does it need to be completed by? And then what are the steps you need to take from today to the end of that goal? What are the things that need to get done to get it completed? So for example, if you set a goal of $25,000 in the first quarter, a revenue goal of $25,000, what are the steps that you would need to do to achieve that goal? So real estate, you got to sell one house. How do you sell the house? You break it all down so you have the exact steps you need, so that it almost becomes a checklist of sorts.
Yeah. Well, if we knew that, that would have been easy, right?
Well, that's kind of, we're building based on what we know about the goal, right? So a lot of times we set a goal and it becomes kind of, what do we call it? A New Year's resolution, right? We just pick a goal, say, this is the thing I'm going to do, and put it on a piece of paper, stick it on our bulletin board, put it in our journal, whatever. And then that's as far as it goes. But by breaking it down and planning it out as deeply as we can. So, Catherine and I chit-chatted the other day about, possibly adding this avenue to her membership that she'd been talking about, and this could be a really cool way to generate more revenue and connect with bigger businesses and make it easier to retain clients and all this kind of stuff. So what would it take for her to achieve that step? Well, for example, with this membership, she has to have the platform first. The platform has to exist. Then she needs to figure out her pricing structure. And then she needs to figure out how to advertise it. Then she needs to figure out what companies to approach to talk to them about this business side of it. And like all of those steps, it doesn't have to be sequential. It doesn't have to be logical. It's just, what would it take to actually get from where I am right now to this thing I want to do?
I thought it had to be in order, and that's what was telling me. I don't know what to do first.
No, just anything you think is actually going to help you achieve this goal. Write it down.
Okay.
We can figure out the sequence of events later.
Okay. I think that's just the hard part.
It definitely can be, because you have to think a little bit outside of the box, right? Like you almost have to take an outside perspective into your business a little bit. So it requires taking a step back, but that's also a part of why it's nice to have someone to do this with. It's when I do this masterclass, I do it in a group setting so that we can bounce ideas off of each other and ask each other questions and just be like, okay, so this is my goal. What other steps am I missing? It's something that I do with my clients as well, because I'm able to peep into their business from up here, whereas they're like in their business here, right? So to have that outside perspective can be really beneficial. Yeah, Yuri?
I just had a eureka moment.
Aha!
Because, taking the whole day kind of thing, or even from 7 to 11 at night, basically. And then I'm looking down at what I do, and 3 hours of prospecting, 2 hours training, 1 hour paperwork, 2 hours social media. And I go, okay, 5, 8, that's just 8 hours. And all of this taking me 12, 14 hours, right? Because of the interruptions and everything else, right?
Yep. Yep. Yeah. And that's something you have to factor in, right? Like you have an 8 hours just of actions you need to take to grow your business, but when are you supposed to show homes?
Right.
So then you start looking at things and say, okay, is there an opportunity to leverage my time? Is there someone who could be doing the social media for me? Possibly. But that's something you look at as either a goal to bring on in 2022. What would that take? Right. So sometimes your goals will actually break down into smaller goals. Right. And that's kind of what we want. We want it to go from, I'll use a very arbitrary goal that happens a lot in my industry, is that 100K year, right? We all want that 100K year, especially online in the coaching and consulting sphere. That's like this magical number, that 6-figure number. And well, that's great. You can put that on a piece of paper and say, I'm manifesting and I'm achieving and I'm dreaming of my 100K year. But how are you going to get there? Well, you're going to need to leverage your time. So you probably need to hire somebody. You need to scale your processes, which means you need to only focus on the things that make you money. Well, how do you do that? So the goals, you work backwards. And it's this process of reverse engineering, like we would do anything else. Where I'm at now and where I want to be. Well, what are the key phases, which is the next part of what we're doing. All right, so let's move on with what we've got now, and then we'll dive into the next section, which is, so we've got all of these things listed out in a bunch of details, and obviously continue this process after this call is done. But when you look at this list of things, what needs to happen? Is it a daily habit you need to develop where you're working on this for 15 minutes a day, and you're just going to pick something off the list and move a little bit every day? Is it a weekly action you need to move in your business? So you need a 3-hour time block or a 5-hour time block once a week where you just go deep and go all in on this one task? Or is it an action step with a sequential list that you need to set aside time for, either daily or weekly? So a lot of times I find our goals end up being a sequential list, and then the choice becomes, do I want to take daily action on it and book aside 15 to 20 minutes every day and do one thing? Or do I want to sit down for 5 hours and really move the needle once a week and feel really good about this goal? So it depends on your business structure. It depends on what really feels good for you. Some people don't like time blocks. Some people don't want to sit down and do only one thing for 3 or 4 hours. Some people love that. So it kind of depends on what feels good for you. So looking at that list that you wrote down, do you need a daily habit or a weekly action? And I want you to write down which one you need.
Sorry, daily
habit or weekly action?
Weekly action.
All right. So once the goal is broken down as much as we can, we're looking at things and kind of saying, okay, here's what we've got to work on. We now have the opportunity to take it from a goal that sounds great on paper with a list of things we should probably be doing into an action plan that's actually in your calendar and a part of your business each day or once a week. So we've taken the time to identify the details of the goal. Now it's time to start turning it into an actual action plan. What is the direction this goal needs to go? So when you look at this and say, okay, I have this list of 20 things, this is where you would start putting your order in sequence. So, we'll go back to Catherine's pretend goal. So if I want to work with these, if I want to offer an enterprise option, I need a platform first. I need people in the platform and I need content in there. So one of those has to happen first. That would be the platform. There has to be a place to send people. So the first thing that would need to happen is the platform. Then the second thing is probably you need content in there because there has to be something to draw people in. Then the third thing would be bringing just regular people in and getting it active and participating. And then you look at the enterprise option. So it kind of breaks down into that sequence of 4 events: platform, content, people, then enterprise. Now, obviously, there's a lot more that goes on in each of those categories, but that's kind of 4 key phases that needs to happen for this goal.
Sorry, Jen, you kind of skipped or mind skipped. I got platform, content,
people, just general people.
Yep.
Consumers. And then that's when you would look at adding the enterprise option.
Enterprise. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So that's the direction your goal needs to go. The goal needs to go. So then what we look at is what are the limitations and constraints that you need to be aware of? What is on your calendar for 2022? Are you taking a vacation? I hope your vacation's already booked into your calendar for the year. If it's not, that's the next thing I want you to do. Pause right now and book off your holiday time. Because if we don't make space for that at the beginning of the year, it's really easy to fill in our calendar with everything else. So if you've got holiday time booked in August and you're taking 3 weeks off, but your goal is the end of August, you need to either speed up the timeline or back up the goal a little bit, because you're going to be gone for 3 weeks and we don't want to be pressured or stressed out about it. So those are limitations and constraints that we need to be aware of. Then we look at what are the key phases or the milestones. So back to Catherine's 4 kind of big milestones, but then the next would be, all right, let's break down building the platform. What are the key phases and the milestones of getting the platform launched? Well, you need to pick what platform you want to use, because there's all kinds of options in the world that you could have someone build a unique custom space for you. You could use Mighty Networks, you could use Circle. There's options for platforms. So you need to do your research. Then you make a decision what platform you want to go with. You pick your pricing plans, you pick out, kind of what kind of tiers you have, and you go down each phase of the goal. Then the next step would be to really look at what are the daily actions or the weekly actions that need to happen to achieve this goal. So if we're using Catherine as our guinea pig today, then for getting the platform, she needs to do the research. Well, that could be a weekly action. So she's going to spend 2 hours each week for the next 4 weeks researching the different platforms and making a decision with a timeline. So we put, by the end of January, we're going to decide what platform we're using for the year for our program. Then we decide what the price point is and we break it down and we do it that way. Now, for some people who have a goal, like sometimes with the clients I work with, their goal is, I want to hit 2,000 Instagram followers. Well, how do you do that? That requires daily action. That would mean you're spending 15 minutes every day on Instagram, interacting with other people's accounts, leaving really juicy comments, creating reels, blah, blah, blah. All of the things that go into an Instagram strategy. So that would require that you take daily action to be visible there. Because Instagram is something that loves you showing up on the reg. They want you there on the daily, spending as much time as possible. So you book into your calendar that 15 or 30 minutes every day to work on that goal, because that's what's going to move the needle on an Instagram follower goal. If you're working towards a goal that has a timeline and a deadline date, then you need to probably sometimes do both daily actions and a weekly time block. But it's really about looking at your calendar and setting up a schedule and a system that feels good for you. For example, for me, I've spent the last 10 years working inside of other people's businesses as a social media manager and an intrapreneur of sorts, helping build communities, helping build strategies. And I've making a shift in 2022 to move away from working off of calendar deadlines with my clients to deliverable deadlines. So instead of saying, you'll have this piece of content by the 15th, I'm moving to, you'll have this piece of content within our 3 months, our quarterly agreement. I'm moving to quarterly agreements with deadlines. And then at the end of that period, I deliver everything in one fell swoop, as opposed to, hey, I need this thing, and me stopping everything to go do the thing because that's what they're paying me for right now. So I'm trading time for flexibility. And I'm making that pivot in my business because it feels good to me. I'm tired of waking up at 9 o'clock or waking up and having to be at my computer at 9 o'clock in the morning, because that's when people expect me to be available with office hours. And I want to move into a flow that feels a lot more flexible and good for where I'm at with my life and my business right now. So if I don't want to work on a Monday, I don't have to work on a Monday. But that requires me really looking at my goals for the year and adjusting things to be weekly actions and adjusting my clients to be monthly actions of sorts. All right. Any questions? That was a lot just thrown at you guys.
Jennifer, by enterprise, you simply mean a system, right?
Well, for Catherine, we were talking about the opportunity to actually market to entire businesses with like a group program type situation where the business could pay for their team members to come in on a group rate, was specific to the Catherine scenario. So when we were talking about this the other day with Nathan, we were calling it the enterprise option. As like, because you can market to individual people, but the money and the magic starts happening when you can market to businesses and have them pay for their teams to come into this group program and learn things specific to Catherine's health and safety and checks and things like that. So we were brainstorming around kind of what she does. So that's what enterprise means for her scenario. It can mean different things to different people.
For the to be able to scale up, for example, mm-hmm. right? Yeah. You need, whether enterprise system, whatever you want to call it, a mechanism, right? You need to have all of those things aligned and working properly, right? And like you said, you cannot have a missing piece in the system. You need a full system to offer to someone else. Yeah.
So that would be kind of, in my world, what I would call scaling, right? Scaling is creating the systems and the strategies, and then leveraging is when you start bringing people in to support you, because now you're leveraging your time and your experience. So those are kind of the two things the way I would identify them. All right. So we've picked a goal. We've broken it down and identified the different phases and key elements. So now it's time to actually work on the goal. Woo! So this phase of goal setting and taking action is as much about your mindset as it is about the actions you need to be taking. So when we were chatting on Monday, and Ivan was talking about the different things people were working on for 2022 and the different things they wanted to do, I kept hearing two things. People were struggling with knowing what goal to pick. And then those that had goals were getting distracted by shiny object syndrome. There's other cool things that they wanted to be working on. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to put this in our little talk because this is important. It's really easy to be distracted by those shiny things. You'd be like, oh, I want to add this, or, oh, I need to do this part. But maintaining your focus is really key. One of the ways that I do this, and something that I teach my clients to do, is to actually book out the time in my calendar to stay focused. So each of the goals I'm actively working on has its own color block. I live and die by my Google Calendar. It has its own color block. So I can visually identify that this is the time where I'm supposed to be working on this goal. I work on 3 goals at a time. And so I have 3 different colors, and I know that it's not a meeting. I know that it's not working on clients' work. I know that it's not downtime or self-care. It's very specific to the goal I'm looking to achieve. And I either have them booked off in 30 to 45 minute increments each day as a daily action. So I'm spending 30 to 45 minutes working every day on that goal. Or I have a 3 to 5 hour time block booked where I can go really, really deep and actually move the needle on the steps that I've outlined for this goal. So some days when I'm doing a time block, I can get 6 or 7 of those check marks done from the list of things that need to get done. Sometimes I can only get 1. It really depends on what that check mark requires. But I take the time to break them down. So it almost becomes like, if you could envision, I love my visual analogies, but if you could envision your goal as the top of your family tree. So then you've got it broke down into like 4 siblings, which are like the 4 phases. Then those 4 siblings break down into the key phases or elements of each of those goals. And those goals get broken out even further. So we're taking the time ahead of it to actually figure out everything that needs to get done to plan this goal. I spend a whole week planning my goals for 2022 because it can take me that much time. But the beauty of this is once it's done, I don't have to wonder about what I'm working on for the rest of the year. I know exactly what 3 goals I'm working on. I know exactly what I should be checking off, and I know exactly where I should be on the timeline that I've set for myself. So when the shiny object syndrome creeps in, and it does for all of us, or I start to feel like there's something I'd rather be doing, like I don't want to work on my goals today, I want a nap, or I don't want to work on my goals today, I want to, have coffee with Catherine. Screw it, I'm going to run away from my to-do list. I actually take the time to go back to the very beginning stages of setting the right goals, which are those 3 things we ran our filter that are our filters. So I look at my core values. I look at the vision for the life that I want to live and the business I want to have. And then I look back at the ideal way I want to be spending my time, because I have to recognize that if I run away from my to-do list on a Thursday and say, nope, I'm going to go have coffee with Catherine. Well, now I have to do those things on Friday, which means I'm messing up my, I don't want to work on Fridays plan. So we're making a sacrifice when we allow ourselves to be distracted, or when we have FOMO, or when we're like, I don't want to, I want a nap. We're limiting ourselves by making those choices. Now you can make an active choice and you can say, okay, I am actively choosing to defer this task to tomorrow, but there are ramifications to that. It means I'm going to have to work on Friday, even though I don't want to, or I planned not to work on Fridays this year. You can make an active choice, but it needs to be an active choice, not a response to just being like, don't want to. So my core values, my vision for the life I want and the business that I dream of having, and how I want to be spending my time are the three filters that always pull me back to center, always keep me focused on the goal that I need to be working on. And usually it just takes a brief refresher for myself or my clients to get refocused, for those end results to bring me back into alignment with the plan. But sometimes it does take a little bit more. For me, I have to go a little deeper. I got to take some time to journal it out. And I'll take the time to write about what achieving this goal will do for me in the future, how it will impact my potential clients, how good it will feel to accomplish it. And I take the time to step into my future self. I step into 2023 Jennifer. She's already done the thing. The goal is already achieved. She's feeling pretty good. It's done, and it's now built a foundation for the next level of my business. How would that make me feel? What is that going to do for me in 2023? And I step into that future version of myself, and I know what it feels like to be celebrating that this goal is accomplished. I know what it feels like to have this foundation already set. I know what it feels like for Catherine to be able to say, okay, 2023 is the year of adding the enterprise option, because I took the time to lay these three foundational pieces. And before you know it, you're re-energized and you're ready to get back to work, and you're ready to focus on your core focused action plan. Because when we can keep ourselves centered around what really matters to us, what our core values are, how we want to live our life, and how we want to run our businesses, we can always draw ourselves back to center regardless of the external factors. So now that you know how important it is to create that action plans based on your values and what matters most to you, you're going to need to know you're going to need to determine what your goals are specifically and create the action plans to match. And we did a little bit of that today, but I hope you are taking notes, or you can go back to the Facebook Live and rewatch it to get those questions to ask yourselves, the key phases, the elements, those things. So you can create your goals with intention and then the action plans to match. And you may be wondering how do I figure out what actions to take based on your values when you're not really sure what your values are. If you're not quite sure what your core values are, I have an offer for those of you who want to align your actions with your values. I'm gifting 60 minutes take actions on your goal sessions so that we can determine what your goals are for 2022, what's slowing you down in your business, and take a little peek into your core values so that we can make sure we align all of these things. I have a link to drop for anyone who wants to book it, but I think it may have to be Catherine or Ivan that share it with the whole group. I sent it to you, Catherine. Okay. I don't know if you can share it with everyone.
I'll make sure that it gets to Afnan and it gets out on email.
Perfect. Okay, that'll be perfect. Or if you're in a hurry and you want to book it, you can also message me or email me. So I only have 5 spots open for that because I have a life and that's how it fits into my calendar. And in this call, we're going to explore the things that are working, that aren't working, identify the untapped potential in your business, and we'll see if I'm able to help you move forward and move the needle on your business and your goals. So I'm really excited to have done this. I probably talked really quickly because I'm a little bit guilty of being a speed talker, especially when I'm excited. But does anyone have any questions or want to go over anything before I hand things back to Ivan or Catherine or whoever's taking over from this point?
I have a question.
Go for it.
So, after you do your action plan, and I'm thinking it's more like a mind map, right?
Yep, it can be very much.
Do you keep those copies?
Yes.
Yeah, put them in behind your calendar just so you can revisit.
Yes, I love to be able to revisit the start of a thought process, because sometimes that will spark, right? Like sometimes you're stuck. You're like, I know there's something I'm supposed to be working on, but I can't really like figure out the pieces of the puzzle. So having those notes, those journals, those mind maps can be really helpful to re-trigger the thought process and go down kind of, I call it a rabbit hole. You go back down that planning rabbit hole and seeing the different elements of what needs to be included in what you're doing.
Okay. Well, I got you. I'm just going to ask the one more question.
Yeah.
You know how you were saying, so I determined that I'll need to do weekly chunks of mine,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
But you said about revisiting the why, so that you don't get distracted by the squirrel.
Yep.
Do you recommend that I put the why in my appointment? So when I go, I got 2 hours, I'm going to work on this membership site, and then just cut and paste the why in there so I can.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I've also had clients who put their whys on their the back of their computer screen behind like all of their apps and stuff. So they'll put their why, they'll write it out, or they'll create their vision board around their why and put that behind like on their computer screen or their lock screen on their phone. There's lots of ways there's lots of little mind tricks we can use to remind ourselves of what our why is. But also one thing that I do is I actually just have it on a sticky note. I have my core values on a sticky note so I can constantly be reminding myself that these are the things that are the heart and soul of everything that I'm doing, everything I help my clients do, and everything I talk about. For me, my 5 core values are abundance, community, freedom, alignment, and leadership. And from those stem all of the different ways I want to live my life, the things that matter to me, the things that impact the words that I use, how I show up on social media, what networking opportunities I take advantage of, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, Ivan. Like those are the things that influence everything I do. And I keep them front and center all of the time to remind myself. Sometimes I remember and I can just spit them out. Sometimes I'm like, what are my core values? Oh yeah. Sticky notes. They're there. They're always there to remind me of what really, really matters to me. The most important facets of everything I do are those 5 foundational elements, the 5 pillars, whatever you want to call them. They are the base level of everything that I do and every way that I support my clients. And as a result, I can communicate the things that matter to me really clearly and very easily because they come out of me. They come out of the heart of who I am. And there's no misunderstanding that core values are really important to me. And my core values in particular are really important to me. And helping other entrepreneurs find their own core values is like the highlight of my day. The best part of everything I get to do is that conversation around core values because I know what they are. I know how it impacts. And I get excited in case you couldn't tell. So keeping that front and center, that reminder, your why, your focus. I actually just posted on Instagram today about how passion fuels purpose, fuels passion. It's very cyclical. And you need your passion to fuel your purpose and your purpose to fuel your passion. But where the magic actually lies is in the in-between, in the fueling. That's where your magic starts to really come to play because you're fueling around your passion and your purpose in a way that's really cyclical. But that's where you have your self-discovery, where you have your aha moments, where you really lean into your core values and fuel who you are and what you want to do because you're constantly reminding yourself that you have a purpose and a passion and they play into each other. And that matters as much when it comes to planning for your year, for your goals, as it does to getting up on a Monday when you really don't want to. Any other questions? Nope. Ivan, awesome. I'm not sure how long I was supposed to take, but I'm done.
Yeah, no, that's amazing.
Jennifer?
Yes, Yuri.
Sorry, I do have a question. Mm-hmm. If hypothetically, by a fluke, you meet your target by mid-year.
Yeah.
And you allocated the whole year for it. So what do you do? What can happen? I guess. Pick
a new goal. Get after it. Double down on the year. Because sometimes you get so passionate and excited about your goal that you can't stop taking action on it. And that's amazing. If you can do that, epic, go for it. But you just go through this process again. Say, okay, I have another 6 months to cross another major thing off of my list. What is it? What aligns with where I want to be? What's going to serve me best in the next year? What are my core values? What's the life I want to live and the business I want to have? You go through this process of filtering again. This can be done. I do this for my clients monthly because we plan monthly goals. So we take our big yearly goal, we dial it into quarters, then we dial it into a month. And we set these things up on a monthly basis. We set them up on a quarterly basis. That I offer this class on a quarterly basis for free. And we take the time. It's a 90-minute class where I stop talking. I ask you a question, I stop talking, and you take 15 minutes to write it out. So that's just because you need the time. Having the dedicated time to actually take the plan and the collective brain power of a group doing it is amazing because you're focused, you're in the moment, you're really doing it. But you just ask yourself these questions over again. You run through the filters, you pick a new goal, and you get to work. Yeah. It's that easy.
Wouldn't your mind play a trick with you that saying, well, I'm good, I'm great, I've achieved this, and like I have time to rest, you know?
If you want to rest, then 100% rest, but make it an active choice. Make it an active choice where you say, okay, I was planning on this goal taking me the whole year. I'm going to give myself a month and then I'm going to revisit whether I want a new goal or whether I want to continue to rest. Or your other option is you can double down on the other 2 remaining goals. If you've planned out 2 other goals, you can double down on that time and say, okay, I got this goal done way faster than I was anticipating. I'm actively choosing to give myself a little bit of break, and I'm actively choosing not to add another goal, but I am going to take this time that I blocked off for this 3rd goal, and I'm going to focus on goal number 1. And I'm going to get goal number 1, because this is the thing. Your goals, the timelines, and the activities are fluid based on what you're doing. So if you can adjust your timelines, it's your goal. You get to do what you want with it, but you need to do something.
No,
that was me. Sorry, by accident.
The goals are fluid. It's not. Once you write it down, it's not a hard line that you can only do this thing for forever. You can adjust based on your core values, how you want to live and how you want to spend your time. Adjust as you need to, but don't give up on the goal. Don't ever give up on the goal. Revisit. Yeah.
That's what I was getting at too, because, I sort of have a confession when I was working for the bank, right? And we have the goal for the year, right? And you don't set it up; somebody else sets it up for you, right?
Right.
And we had the year end in October, and I achieve it in June, and you do one of these things for 3 months, because you're already, the challenge there was if I do 200% or 300%. It's going to come back and haunt me next year because they're going to set the goal at that point, right? It's like,
right. But this is the thing. You work for yourself now, right?
Right.
So you are the master of your own success. You're the master of your own goals. You get to decide and you get to make an active choice. But you need to actually, don't just react to, I'm done my goal in June, woohoo, and then do nothing. Take the time and say, okay, check in with yourself. Do I want to set a new goal? Do I want to double down on one of my other goals? Or do I just want to honor myself a little bit and give myself some space? But then set a time on your calendar to check back in with yourself in a month. Give yourself a month off on the 3 goals and just focus on 2, but check back in and make an active decision whether or not you want to create a new goal or you want to just keep moving forward with the other 2.
Excellent. Thank you, Jennifer. I was just going to say, did everybody get that information in their chat now? Because I was able to put it out to everybody.
You can see that, I think.
Excellent. Good. Jennifer, please tell us how they can locate you on what do you want? Facebook and your website. What's the best way to locate you?
The best way is to either email me at busybeingennifer@gmail.com. or find me on Instagram. I'm still working on my website. It's a very low priority for me. And on Instagram, I'm the Jennifer Jane, Jayne. And you can find me there as well. I think, my profile name is the same on Facebook as well. So if you want to find me on Facebook, I like Facebook friends.
Excellent. So INT members, we support members, right? So let's get in there and get some likes, for new likes in there for Jennifer. And again, Jennifer, thank you so much for coming in. You have given me so many things to think about. I can't wait like I am. I'm excited to get this mapping done. So that's amazing. Folks, please don't forget tomorrow we're going to be doing on Tech Talk Christmas in all its technology glory and the amazing things they can do with coordinating sound and visuals nowadays, right? And then Friday morning is our last coffee mixer at the Emerald at Barton and Emerald. And then Sunday is our open house. We'd love you to come and bring somebody. You do have to conform to Ontario gathering regulations, but as long as you got your passport, for lack of better term, we'd love to have you. And don't forget, we are doing donations of food items or personal items for a local food bank. Again, Jennifer Ferriss of Jennifer Jane Consulting. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Thank you and have a great Wednesday.
Jennifer,
Yes, Yuri.
yeah, I just went on there and it says 1 hour session, so you may want to change that.
Okay. Well, it is supposed to be for an hour.
Oh, is it an hour? I thought
Yeah.
you said 15 minutes.
No. This it's a gifted session, so it's 60 minutes.
Okay.
There you go. 1 down, 4 to go. Hurry up, people. Let's get out of here. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.